Tito Flavio Vespasiano!
Throughout the history of mankind, God has always given warning of his impending judgments. The same is true concerning his final judgment. That is a great and terrible judgment that is to come upon the entire world. A time when all mouths will be stopped in the presence of the Creator. A time when our thoughts and actions will be measured against the perfect standard of God's eternal law. At this great seat of judgment, every person will enter a plea. Many will plead their own merits and be found wanting, and their souls will be required of them. But some will plead the merits of him who sits as judge of the world, and by his righteous covering they will receive pardon and be deemed worthy of heaven. These pardoned souls will be those who humble their hearts before God and regard the warnings sent to them by God's messengers. What messages of warnings are these? They are the substance of the three angels' messages depicted by the Apostle John in his revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto us his servants things which must shortly come to pass. Within the chronology of final events, which were revealed to the Apostle John and recorded within his revelation, there are three angels who are symbolic of God's faithful messengers upon the earth just prior to the return of Christ. These three symbolic angels give three separate messages of warning. In verse 6 of chapter 14 of the book of Revelation, we read that the first angel proclaims unto all those who dwell upon the earth the work of God's judgment that has already begun. This angel proclaims with a loud voice that the hour of judgment is come, along with the basis of all three messages, which is the everlasting gospel of Jesus Christ. That is, the gospel of redemption and pardon of sinful man through faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. For this, the Apostle Paul says, is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believes. The first angel is followed by a second, just before a series of terrible plagues come first upon a corrupt and fallen church, which is referred to by the angel as Babylon. These plagues come first upon the church because we are told by the Scriptures that judgment must begin at the house of God. This corrupt and fallen church is represented by the symbol of a harlot. This harlot represents not one church or group, but many. She is a mother of harlots, indicating more than one fallen ecclesiastical body. A careful reading of John's revelation points us to a fallen church that is comprised of a union between Romanism and Protestantism. Romanism, the mother, has sought to change the sacred law of God, while Protestantism, her daughters, have blindly followed. By this light, the frightful message of Matthew 7:21-23 is made clear, when Jesus says, "Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we not cast out devils? And in thy name have we not done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." The corrupt and fallen state of this universal church is the result of her disavowal of God's rulership and authority. She has rejected God's sacred commandments and has offered her allegiance to the powers of this world. She has manifested her disloyalty by profaning and supplanting God's holy Sabbath with a Sabbath of her own making. By this rebellion, she has caused all nations to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And it is against this deceitful endeavor that the second angel gives strong warning, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. The proclamation of the third and final angel prepares God's true and undefiled church for the final scene of the beast and his image. Throughout history, the symbol of the beast has been most consistently attributed to the Roman papacy, even by all of the early Protestant reformers. The beast of John's revelation and of Daniel's prophetic vision is identified as the fourth and final empire of the world, after that of Babylon, Media-Persia, and Greece. This empire is none other than pagan Rome. It is further characterized by the Scriptures as an entity seated in pagan Rome, to which Satan gave his power and authority to make war with the saints of God and to overcome them, and to continue 42 months, or 1,260 days or years. This entity, referred to as the beast, is none other than papal Rome. Hence, the mixture of iron and clay that we see in Daniel chapter 2, verses 40 through 43. This time prophecy of 1,260 days or years was fulfilled when the Roman papacy was vested with the power and civil authority of pagan Rome to overcome God's people for a period of exactly 1,260 years. In sum, this period of time began with the seat, or the city of Rome, being transferred to the control of the Roman papacy in 538 AD, and it ended with papal Rome being overtaken by Napoleon's forces in 1798 AD. But this overtaking was to last only for a short time, as the Scriptures prophesy that the deadly wound would be healed, and that the beast would recover and remain until the day of God's final judgment. The Scriptures also reveal that a revived Roman papacy would unite with what is best attributed to modern-day Protestantism. How will this Roman Protestant union be formed? It will be formed upon the general notion of unity and peace, and upon the notion that the rift between mother and daughter has been mended. Both will join together upon similar points of doctrine. Most especially, they will unite upon a single point over which mother and daughter have never quarreled. That is, the substitution of God's seventh-day Sabbath for Romanism's first-day Sabbath. For by this tradition, mother and daughter were never truly separated. The following is an excerpt from a book written by a prominent author and Roman Catholic priest. He writes, "But since Saturday and not Sunday is specified in the Bible, isn't it curious that non-Catholics who profess to take their religion from the Bible and not from the Church observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Yes, of course, it is inconsistent, but this change was made about 15 centuries before Protestantism was born, and by that time this custom was universally observed. They, the Protestants, have continued the custom, even though it rests upon the authority of the Catholic Church and not upon an explicit text in the Bible. That observance remains as a reminder of the Mother Church, from which the non-Catholic sects broke away. Like a boy running away from home, but still carrying in his pocket a picture of his mother or a lock of her hair. By her substitution of God's holy Sabbath day, and thinking herself able to change God's times and laws, Babylon openly acknowledges the man of sin, that is Satan himself, to be above all that is called God. So, what is the mark of the beast, warned of by the third and final angel? It is a mark of allegiance given by God's professed people to the beast, or to Satan, when they disavow the authority and rulership of God. How do we disavow the authority and rulership of God? We do this by rejecting and profaning God's sacred commandments. As Romanism and Protestantism have done separately against God's law, so also will they do together. Through the confusion rendered by the false teachings of Babylon, God's people will be deceived and even persuaded to give their worship and allegiance to the king of this world, Satan. They will receive the mark of infidelity in their foreheads, that is, in their minds, and in their hands, that is, in their actions, when they follow the false teachings and false Sabbath of this Roman Protestant Union. This marking of the beast is not a literal mark as much as it is a public profession and manifestation of our allegiance to anyone or anything other than our beneficent Creator. What is the consequence of bearing this mark? The angel answers, "If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." But here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.